Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. On the evening of that first day of the week, when the doors were locked where the disciples were for fear of the Jews, Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, "Peace be with you." When he had said this, he showed them his hand and his side. The disciples rejoiced when they saw the Lord. Jesus said to them again, "Peace be with you. As the Father has sent me, so I send you." And when he had said this, he breathed on them and said to them, "Receive the Holy Spirit. Whose sins you forgive are forgiven them, and whose sins you retain are retained." Thomas, called Didymus, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples said to him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my finger into the nail marks, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." Now a week later his disciples were again inside, and Thomas was with them. Jesus came, although the doors were locked, and stood in their midst and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands, and bring your hand and put it into my side. And do not be unbelieving, but believe." Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you come to believe because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed." Now Jesus did many other signs in the presence of his disciples that are not written in this book. But these are written so that you may come to believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of God, and that through this belief you may have life in his name. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. In the sacrament of reconciliation, where we experience God's divine mercy, we often confess sins having to do with doubt. Maybe we've doubted God, doubted a teaching of the church, or doubted ourselves. For some reason, we believe that doubt is always inherently sinful because it questions something that supposedly should be unquestionable. The truth is, however, that doubt and questioning are not always sinful. In fact, they can be great tools for deepening our faith and growing in the spiritual life. In our gospel today, Thomas doubted the resurrection of the Lord. He said, "Unless I see the marks of the nails in his hands, and put my finger into the nail marks, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." While tradition has therefore called him Doubting Thomas in a pejorative sense, we forget that because he doubted, the next week he had the great experience of personally touching the nail marks of the risen Christ and exclaiming, "My Lord and my God." His doubting and questioning are the very things that opened a way for him to have a more profound experience of Christ. Far from being people who never doubt or question, the Dominican priest Father Timothy Radcliffe says that Christians should be the ones who go on asking questions when others stop. Christians should be the ones that go on asking questions even when others stop. To not ask questions puts us at risk of becoming brainwashed, a tactic unfortunately used by some Christian churches as well as by leaders in the secular world. True Christians, however, keep prying, knowing that God is big enough to handle all of our hesitations and uncertainties. For our faith to grow, we have to allow it to be tested. As our second reading this weekend from the first letter of St. Peter said, "This is so that the genuineness of your faith, more precious than gold that is perishable, even though tested by fire, may prove to be for praise, glory, and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ." A faith that is not tested will eventually crumble. It will not get us through tough, real-life situations. This point in particular can be a connecting point with the youth of the Church, especially our middle school, high school, and college-age students. So often they have a lot of questions as they go through their rebel phase in life. Rather than punishing them for being so rebellious, we can allow them the freedom of asking anything they wish, all the while trusting that God is still with them. By encouraging them to ask questions about God, the Church, and themselves, we hope that they will come to a stronger awareness of who God is, who they are, and what a relationship with Christ means. So our point for this weekend is that doubt and questioning are not always sinful, but can become invitations to go deeper into our faith. Question for reflection today: in what ways have I been afraid to admit my doubts about God, the Church, or my faith? To be clear, we do not doubt and question so that we can purposely lead ourselves astray. We doubt and we question because we want to make sure that that which we cannot see is in fact true.